Very good question. No, I love Milwaukee. It reminds me of Buffalo, New York, where I grew up. But coming here, I'm based in Napa Valley, and I am a sales manager, so Have Wine will travel. And yes, it brought me to Milwaukee. So I'm here for the week.
That will make you very popular.
It will. I knew you were going to ask that, so I practiced it. No. Yes, it is a question that we get often, and a lot of times people fact-checked us because it does stand for two things. The initials of the founding partners, Gino Zapponi and Norm DeLeuze, so the Z and the D, they were aeronautical engineers. And being aeronautical engineers, they worked at Aerojet, a plant in Sacramento, and there was a quality control program at the time called ZD, which stood for Zero Defects. You really have to know someone or hear the story at the winery. It's not on the website. That is a question that we get asked often. But I would think that Zero Defects is a lot easier to remember than Zapponi and DeLeuze. Today, the DeLeuze family own and operate the winery. So Norm and Gino were, as I mentioned, were really good friends, and they worked together at Aerojet. And I would call the story, life after engineering. So they started the winery in 1969 with $3,000 apiece. They did not quit their day jobs. So worked on the weekends and the holidays, full-time engineers, had families, and they started the winery with 300 cases of Pinot Noir in 1969, which I think, you mentioned pioneer. That is a pioneer move. Yeah. If you know a little bit of the history of Napa Valley. They also made a small amount of white Riesling. That was the one and only. And if you visit the winery, there's lots of pictures that you can look and kind of sneak peek all the way back to 1969 and see how they started the winery. So 1969, they started the winery full-time. Became full-time at the winery located on the Silverado Trail in 1978 and have been at it ever since, 3 generations now. But yeah, we've been on the trail since 1978. Prior to that, Norm and Gino made wine in a small farm building on Burndale Road. I'd just like to say that. in a small building behind Gino's cousin's house, because that's what you did. Sure. And now we own 30 acres in Carneros, but the winery itself is on the Silverado Trail in Rutherford, right in the heart of Napa Valley. Definitely risk takers. Yeah. And they tried, wine wasn't the first thing they tried after life after engineering. I mean, they raised rabbits. We'll just leave it at that. That didn't work out. A couple other items, a couple other adventures. But wine was something, that really, that they had a passion for. Sure. And I would say 1980s when we really got on the map with the Chardonnay. The Chardonnay was what put us on the map. It'll be 25 years in September. I live in downtown Napa. So I moved to Napa Valley. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. And I found my way to Colorado. So it's snow with sunshine, of course. And that's where I began my career in wine. And then I moved to Napa Valley to work directly for the DeLeuze family. Like a lot of folks on the sales side, I started in waiting tables. That's what we do after college. And then that's where my interest was sparked, in that there were actually folks that came to the restaurant and sold wine, and the education piece. So I started pursuing working for a distributor. So I started with a company, and my territory was Aspen. So it was a hard learning curve, very competitive market. As you know, a lot of master sommeliers have come out of Aspen. And yeah, that's where I cut my teeth and sold lots of different wines, and internationally, domestically. And I really wanted to take my career to another level. or more focused approach, I guess I would say. And so I had a small criteria. I would say this is before the term, nowadays you hear the younger generation saying, we're going to manifest this. We're going to manifest my future. I didn't know that term at that time, but it is pretty much what I did. I sat down and I thought, well, if I were to move to wine country, where would it be? And I decided Napa Valley. That was important to me. So my criteria was Napa Valley, working for a family-owned and operated winery that produced Pinot Noir. And that was it. And every Friday I sat down and sent off a letter via fax to wineries. It took me about 2 months. A lot of people got back to me and said, we're not hiring right now, but we'll keep your resume on file. And Brett DeLeuze, who's second generation, and our president now, called me. And he said, why are you moving to Napa Valley? And I said, did I mention I live in Aspen? I'm not moving unless I have employment. Yeah. And so we had a nice conversation and we decided, well, why don't I just come out there and meet him and the entire family? And a month later, I started as their national sales manager. ZD Wines. ZDwines.com. It's also our handle for Instagram and social media. And if you come to the website, you can actually see the experiences that we offer. So we have a vineyard view experience where you sit in a vineyard, a room overlooking the vineyards, tasting world-class wines. Recently, our third generation, Jill DeLeuze, was promoted to winery chef. That is I'm very proud of this. I've known her since she was probably like 10, and it's very exciting. So she's adding food and wine pairings, doing special events. You can find out about our events. Of course, you could find out about our wine club, which is a custom club called First Taste. Order wine, or you can see, that I'm in Milwaukee. It'll tell you where we are on the road doing wine dinners and such. So yeah, zdwines.com.